Hello everyone, I'm Lua, and today I'm going to be talking about the four fundamental forces with my partner Esma. So these are the four fundamental forces, which is the electromagnetism, the gravitational force, the weak interaction, and the strong interaction. First is the gravitational force. So let's talk about some facts about gravity. Gravity is what keeps you on the ground and what causes the objects to fall. It's also what holds the planet in orbit around the sun and what keeps the moon in orbit around the earth. The moon and the earth, they has a stronger gravitational force than the sun and the earth. Despite the sun having a larger mass, however, the distance between the moon and the earth is much less than the distance between the sun and the earth. What is gravity? Gravity is a mutual force of attraction between particles of matter. Anything that has mass also has a gravitational pull, and the more massive an object is, the stronger its gravity pull is. Gravity is the weakest of the four forces, and it also gets weaker with distance, so the closer the objects are to each other, the stronger their gravitational pull is. The Newton's universal of law started when Isaac Newton was sitting down under a tree one day and an apple fell on his head. He started to think why things fall toward the ground and discovered the law of gravity. The law of gravity states that G, or gravity, is equals to mass 1 times mass 2 divided by the distance r squared measured in N, capital N, which stands for newtons. And the force of gravity on Earth is negative 9.8 meter per second squared, and on Moon is negative 1.9 meter per second squared. Don't forget that gravity is a field force, and the gravitational field strength is equals to the free fall acceleration, and also that your weight changes by location. So this means that my weight on the Moon is way different than my weight on Earth. Second force is the strong nuclear force, which is also called the strong interaction. And it's the strongest force among the four forces. What is it? So the strong nuclear force is the attraction between the neutrons and the protons in a nucleus, which is found in an atom. It is 6,000 trillion, which is 39 zeros after the 6, times stronger than the force of gravity. The force also keeps the protons and neutrons of an atom nucleus together. The strong forces, they operate only when the subatomic particles are extremely close to one another. Much like the weak force, the strong force operates only when subatomic particles are extremely close to one another. Strong force is odd, unlike the other forces, and it gets weaker as the subatomic particles move closer together. It reaches to a maximum strength when the particles are farthest away from each other. The residual strong force is a force that acts between protons and neutrons. Protons in the nucleus repel one another because of their similar charge, but the residual force can overcome this repulsion, so the particles stay bound.
Moving on to the weak nuclear force, which is also called a weak nuclear interaction. It is responsible for particle decay. This is a literal change of one type of subatomic particles into another. So for example, a neutrino that stays close to a neutron can turn a neutron into a proton, while the neutrino becomes an electron. It is also a mechanism of interaction between subatomic particles that are responsible for the radioactive of the atoms. It also plays a great role of things falling apart for decaying. A weak interaction force is stronger than gravity, yet it is the second weakest force of gravity, but it's only effectively in short distance. It really acts on subatomic levels and plays a role in powering stars and creates elements. Moving on to the last force, which is electromagnetism. It is a force that acts between charged particles and is a combination of electrical and magnet forces. It's a physical interaction that creates between electrocharged particles. This force is very attractive. A conductor is electrically charged. Its magnet lines of force of the conductor, such as a positive charges moving the wires that produces magnet field along the wires and the direct. An example could be the speakers of the metal coil is attached to the permanent magnet. Once it's currently passed through the coil, it generates a magnet field. When the newly magnet field is divided by the permanent magnet field, resulting on the vibration, which causes the sound. This is because of how the speaker works on the electromagnetism. Thank you very much.